Brought to you by Penguin.
The Cotton Spinner. Written by Libby Ashworth. Read by Katy Sobey. Chapter 1. Jennet stared in dismay at Paradise Lane. It bore no resemblance to anything heavenly. The grubby terrace was situated across the road from the towering walls of the mill, which blocked out any light that might otherwise have reached its windows. Number 10 was in the middle of the row, and although Number 8 was locked up and quiet, the wailing of several babies coming from Number 12 almost undid her resolve to accept this move with good grace. She'd struggled to hold back her tears as the cart had left their cottage at Pleck Gate, where the air had been clean and they'd had a garden to grow their own vegetables, and where she'd made jam from the fruit that grew wild on the hills. She'd dreaded what would await her in the mill town of Blackburn, and it looked as bad, if not worse, than she'd imagined. The November day was grey and dismal, and every spot of rain that fell brought down filth from the smoky sky. It clung to her shawl and the bags that Titus was lifting down from the cart, and there was even soot on little Peggy's face as she held on to Jennet, thumb in mouth, watching what was going on. Titus fumbled in his pocket for the key. He put it in the door, turned it, and then lifted the sneck to reveal their new home. The door was stiff and had to be shoved open to reveal a small parlour with a stone-flagged floor and whitewashed walls that had grown grubby and were now a faded shade of grey. To one side was the cast-iron range, in dire need of cleaning and blackleading. There were cold ashes left in the grate. Jennet was greeted by the smell of damp, and when she ran a finger along the windowsill, it came away covered in grime. She glanced at the door that opened into the back kitchen, and hardly dared to go and look. Neither of them had wanted to come. They'd struggled on for as long as they could, but in the end it had become impossible for them to make a living in the countryside. Jennet hadn't been able to spin enough cotton to provide Titus with thread. When they were first married, his mother had been alive, and his sister had lived with them too. 3 spinners could provide a weaver with ample warp and weft, but when there was only her, and she had Peggy to care for as well, she hadn't been able to keep up with the demand. Then the price of the woven cloth had fallen.
6 shillings,
the chapman had said the last time he'd come.
Don't talk daft, man,
Titus had told him.
There's a full cut there, and look at the workmanship. Thou'll not find a flaw in it.
The chapman had shaken his head.
6 shillings,
he'd repeated.
It's the going rate.
But he's worked on that piece for nearly a fortnight, Jennet had argued.
It's supply and demand, Mrs. Eastwood, the chapman told her. The new mills can weave much faster, so the price of cloth has plummeted. The mill owners are selling direct to manufacturers, and I'm barely making any profit as it is.
He'd put the money down on the corner of the scrubbed table.
Take it or leave it. I'm only buying from thee as a favour. It's not really worth my while coming out all this way for 15 yards.
Jennet had been sure that the cloth was worth more, but 6 shillings was better than nothing.
Take it then, and be damned to thee,
said Titus, as his fingers had closed around the coins.
I'm sorry,
said the chapman, as he gathered up the cloth and turned to leave.
Hang on,
Titus had called after him.
What about the cotton? That must be included as well.
The chapman had paused in the doorway, his eyes downcast.
I have none,
he said.
Thou'll have to get it from the mill.
Titus had walked into Blackburn to buy the cotton himself, but no one would sell him any. Although there were bales of the stuff piled high in the warehouses, it was all destined for the mills, and in the end he'd come home with ready-spun bobbins.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?